Members, remember to turn your mics on, please. Okay, look at that clock. It's on. Okay, the Smithfield Zoning Board of Review on April 2nd, 2025 is now open. Members present tonight, we have Peter Cannavale, John Hunt, myself, Richard Levin, Linda Marcello, Ed Savito, and Frank Smith. Sharon Gilmore is our recording secretary tonight. David Ducillo is our board solicitor, and Kara Ogden is our stenographer. Could we have the emergency evacuation notices, please?
Sure. In case of an emergency, there are two main exits out of the chambers. The first is to the right side of the stage, up the stairs through the doorway and down the stairway out to the back side of the town hall. The second is out the back of the chambers to the exit doorway to the stairway out the front of the town hall. The men's facility is out through the back of the chambers past the stairway around the corner on the right. The ladies' facility is out through the back door of the chambers straight up the stairs and on the left. Please do not use the elevator in times of emergency.
Okay, members, have you had a chance to review last week's meeting notes? If so, can I have a motion?
Actually, I found a typo in here. I'm not sure if it's something worthy of discussion or not. But under case 25-003, where it says motion to approve the request, John Smith.
Yes.
So
I believe that was John Hunt last.
004. I second.
No, it was just,
no, 003.
Oh, it's there and it carries over from 004. So
Oh, okay.
okay, so that was the first one. Was that done?
That was me.
Huh?
That was me.
The first one?
On, where it says John Smith, I made the motion to approve with the conditions that they seek DE and guidance.
Yep. And on high stepping, we had the same thing again. Motion to continue, I believe that was it you, John, or was it
I think it,
Frank?
No, I was not a high stepper.
I didn't write it down. I looked at my notes.
Oh,
I didn't write
okay.
down who actually made it.
I think I did. I think I did continue that.
You did,
Okay.
you did, I just put the name in the last one.
No, I did make the motion for the first one, 002, but not the other two.
I just want to make sure we get this right again. So for Cedar Swamp Road, John, that was you?
Yes, yes. That was me.
And then in the continuation,
Was me.
okay. We'll do that. All right.
Yeah, a motion to approve
Okay, we need a motion to approve the meeting minutes
as amended.
as amended.
Make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes as amended.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sharon, could you read the zoning ordinances before us? Yes, communications.
Okay, so we received a letter from Timothy F. King, attorney at law, regarding his, regarding address 81 West Greenville Road, high stepping dance and athletics.
That is case 25-004.
Yep.
Yes. It says, "Dear Chairman Letterly, on behalf of the owner and applicant with regard to the above referenced matter, I write to inform you that the application for zoning relief is being withdrawn. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Very truly yours, Timothy F. Kane."
And we have that exhibit A for that letter.
Sorry.
We have the letter as exhibit A. Okay, and we have new business then.
25-005, Robert and Lisa Richards as applicants and Pleasant View Place LLC as owner of property located at 180 Pleasant View Avenue, listed as Plat 19, Lot 36, variances to deviate from sections 4.5-24-73B II, R.I.G.L, 4.4.B-1 and 4.4.B-1C, residential uses to construct an accessory family dwelling unit in an R20 district.
Okay. The applicant's here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Timothy Kane, and I'm an attorney licensed to practice law.
Tim? Swear you in? You don't swear him in? Okay. Just a, I mean, like,
Never want to swear a lawyer in.
grew up with the truth anyways, okay.
Exercise in futility. No, I'm only kidding. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island. I have an office at 627 Putnam Pike. I do represent Robert and Lisa Richards and Pleasant View Place LLC with regard to this application. I don't get the easy ones, Mr. Chairman. So we look at the ordinance, we look at the land that we have, and we try and find a path forward. And sometimes we have to be creative because sometimes there's not a clear path forward in your ordinance. And that's what we're trying to do tonight. So the property, I would say, is very unique. It's in a residential zone. And in the abstract, the house is permitted as a matter of right in the residential zone, but it is improved primarily by a mixed-use building. You have, and my clients will talk about that in a minute, you have the first floor of the building has a jewelry shop and a hair and nail salon and a massage therapist in there. And then on the second floor, you have a large dwelling unit. You have a 1,000-square-foot apartment on this. And we have a lot of land in the back, most of which is wooded, and if the board saw fit to grant approval, I'm sure my clients would leave a buffer up, okay, between the back of this property and the houses on the road. I guess that goes off Clarence Thurber Boulevard. Clarence Thurber Boulevard. So you have a rather large piece of property, and probably only about 40% of it is being used for the mixed-use building. And then you have all this wooded area in back that's not used right now. It's wooded, okay? And again, it's zoned residential. And so what's different about this is we're asking for an accessory dwelling unit to be accessory to a mixed-use building, which still has a residential component to it, and not to a single-family residence. That's what's different about this, and that's why we asked for a variance from your ordinance that it wouldn't be accessory to a primary residential structure, but it would be accessory to a mixed-use building. And I think the property is unique enough and the circumstances are unique enough that you could give it consideration. The second piece of relief that we're asking for is my clients would like to have separate utilities. And your ordinance, I think, is the state law will catch up to this as it changes every year on this. The ordinance back in the day, which is still in effect in Smithfield, called for not having separate utilities. And that was really when in-laws were required. They were in-laws in Smithfield for a while. You had to be related to somebody to live there. You had to file papers in the town. And most of them, 90% of them were in-laws built within the house. And so it made more sense in that case not to have separate utilities. I would submit to you, you'll see a couple of these maybe now and then, but if you were going to build a little house and a backyard somewhere, you would want separate utilities because it's hard to figure out who's using what all right, from electric and who's using what sewer and what water, and then you have a bookkeeping matter on your hands at that point. So we did ask relief from that, and I think given the changes in the law and what we're seeing with accessory dwelling units, that's an appropriate request. And last, the state law allows you to go up to 1,200 square feet now with an ADU. We're a little over it. We're at 1,288. I guess we can go to, and therefore we require a variance right there on that. I'd like to have my clients come up and testify, if that's okay. But that's a summary of what we're asking for. We're asking to allow an ADU accessory to a mixed-use structure. We're asking to be allowed to have separate utilities, and we're asking to be allowed to go over by the 1,200 square feet. You other questions?
Well, I just want to, Mr. Gentile and I we were trying to confirm how you calculated the relief. You need like 400 square feet?
I wasn't going under the old Smithfield regulations, and state law allows 1,200, so I would amend that to 88 square feet.
Okay, so you don't need it based off of, the other part of that same statute says 60% of the residential living space.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Gentile.
Okay.
So we'll swear Mr. Gentile in.
Okay.
Chris,
Hold on.
Then it's the 42720.
we need to swear you in. Yeah. State your name for the record first. So Carl has it.
Christopher Gentile, I'm the deputy zoning official for the town of Smithfield.
Chris, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay.
So, Mr. Gentile, can you explain, there's two ways that the 1,200 square feet of ADU space can be calculated. First, it's up to 1,200 square feet, or under state law,
For two-bedroom
Two-bedroom.
ADU, so that's B2. It's two-bedroom ADU, at least 1,200 square feet, or 60% of the floor area of the principal dwelling, whatever is less. So if you did the calculation off of the square footage of the residential portion of the mixed use, the request is correct. 60% of,
1,000. Or it's 1,000 or 1,200 upstairs?
Upstairs, I think, how many, like 1,000, 1,200, it's the whole size of the building, excluding the bar area.
Let's go with 1,000, if that
Well,
calculation.
we're going, if we calculated if it was 1,200, your relief is correct at the 427.
That's what you told me.
Excuse me, 1 minute.
She have to be.
Hold on.
Hold on, wait, you can't talk from the,
It's 1,200.
Okay.
no, we went on what was reported to us.
So at 60% of roughly 1,200 square feet,
We do need, and that's, I
427.
had forgotten how we calculated that. I apologize, it was so long ago that we had gone through that exercise. Thank you for clarifying that. So, Rob, why don't you come up, and then Ms., you're on standby, okay?
Mr. Roberts.
Hi,
Please state your name and address, please.
Robert Richards, 4 Clarence Thurber Drive.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay.
So, you're the principal of Pleasant View Place LLC, is that correct?
Correct.
And the property located at 180 Pleasant View Avenue, could you describe to the board the first floor of that property, what goes on there?
Yep, I have my jewelry store there. My wife has her hair salon. And my cousin has the massage therapy.
Okay, and who lives in the apartment upstairs?
My son Chris lives upstairs
Okay, and who lives
with
at
his
your...
wife
With his wife and...
and two babies.
two babies.
Yeah,
And who lives, I guess, around the corner at 4 Clarence Thurber Drive?
me and my wife and my son Anthony,
Okay, and this property's been in your wife's family since 1947, is that correct?
correct.
And how many years have you been there?
30 years.
Okay. And what's the game plan? I know that the staff report said it wasn't owner occupied, but tell me, what is the game plan if the board saw fit to grant you relief to build a little house in the back? What's the game plan as far as who's gonna live in the house? Who's, is this
Oh,
for
yes.
family? So,
Yeah, yeah. So we were planning on selling my house to my son, Christopher, the one that lives upstairs right now. And we were gonna build an ADU for me and my wife. And my son Anthony would move in the apartment upstairs.
so every,
So it's gonna be all family occupied.
you're not doing it to make money, you're
No,
not doing
I'm
it to
not
rent?
doing it to sell anything. Yeah.
Right, and are you selling the house to your son to make money, or are you gonna sell it for a profit?
No, we're gonna give it to him at what we own. That's it.
Okay. And again, and your son that lives with you will move into the apartment, your other son that has started a family and has little babies is gonna
Yep.
move into your house,
Yep.
and then you'd like to build a little house and, because you have all this excess land back here.
Yeah.
And keep running your business, and hopefully the plan would stay in the family
Yes.
indefinitely.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't,
just to keep family together. That's
Okay.
basically what.
The only thing that really sticks out about all this is it's supposed to be the primary residence the ADU was built on, which this is not.
and that's the dilemma for us, right? So the dilemma is, we have all this land, right, that's not used, and we don't, the primary, it's zoned residential, and I think that's a huge distinction, because I think everybody's gonna be worried about setting a precedent, right? Someone comes in. can they build-
This is a huge thing that could
And has that
change an
all-
awful lot of things in the town. That's why I'm extremely cautious about doing something like
Yeah.
this, but.
And I guess, as I always argued as zoning boards, like, each case is driven by its facts, right?
Yep.
And everything that comes before you is unique. And I think what's different about this is the lot size and the fact that it's zoned residential. If this was zoned commercial, I wouldn't come in with it, they wouldn't come in with it, we couldn't. It wouldn't make no sense, but houses are permitted as a matter of right at a residential district. We have a commercial building, a mixed-use building up in front. So that's the rub. That's why we're here. That's the avenue of relief that we chose, and we talked about other ways, whether we could go before the zoning board, the planning board for an ADU, we can't, the way this sits right now. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out a way to get through the process. I would argue to you that you're not setting legal precedent. You want to be fair and consistent to anybody that comes before you, right? But you only set legal precedent if someone comes in with the exact same case as this. And I would respectfully suggest that you won't see that, because it's unique. It's a very unique application. And if you did, and someone came in and they had 1.5 acres and it was all wooded and it was a residential zone and there wasn't public safety issues or something like that, you would have the authority to grant it. I'm not telling you you have to. But again, you want to be fair and consistent to everybody. But on zoning cases, in my opinion, you don't set legal precedent, because everything is unique, and you have a very unique family situation here. Lots of land, good land, flat land, well-drained soils. I'm sure a couple of you have probably been back there. And it's for a long, standing Smithfield family that wants to keep everything together, and they've got water, sewer, and tons of land to do it, and it would be in character with the neighborhood. This lot is still bigger than, a great majority of the lots in that area. So I understand, when you first look at it, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, everybody's gonna wanna build an apartment behind a restaurant or a commercial building. It's a mixed-use building for us. It's in a residential zone. It's got tons of land, and it makes common sense. So I wouldn't worry about setting precedent, because I don't think you're gonna have a lot of mixed-use buildings or commercial properties in a residential district that have 1.5 acres and a good acre behind the building that's not used, that's wood. I think that's what makes this case different than anything else that we would see.
Again, my still problem is we do set a precedence if we do this. The property itself is, I mean, there's nothing saying that the property in the back could have been deeded or the principal owner, which is, Mr. Roberts is, could have taken over that back lot from his and then there would have been no issue at all.
Well, there would
From
be
the
some,
house.
there's a couple issues with that. So first of all, zoning doesn't like you, so you would be talking about changing the lot lines, right? Is that what you're talking? So that means, so zoning doesn't, and planning doesn't like you to create lots like that anymore. So your depth to width ratio would be exceeded. So the width of that lot is 125 feet. If you draw a line straight all the way back, the depth would be over 400 feet. You're not supposed to go over 2.5 times the width, okay, for depth of lot. So that would require a variance right there. And the second thing is, and I'm not gonna say it's economic disability because you're not supposed to grant things based on economic disability. Economic disability would be, I wanna put an addition on my house or a pool in the backyard, but I only have $20,000 and there's a little bit of ledge down there, so I wanna put it in my front yard, right? That's that economic disability. In the real world, these are problematic. You're not gonna see a lot of these in any town for lots of reasons. Not everybody wants a house in their backyard. Not everybody wants unrelated tenants in their backyard. That's not what this is for. And it creates logistical problems. So I'll speak for them. I don't think they want to sell their son another 3/4 of an acre, because that's what's going to have to happen. They're going to sell it to what they have into. He's going to have to go get a mortgage. Lots of things can happen. Now they're vested. They're going to have to spend about $300,000, all right, building a nice little house back there. What if there's a divorce? Where does that leave them? What if the bank?
No, I was suggesting that if the property was shifted over to the primary residence, which they said they're going to live in the ADU, then the ADU would be attached to the other residence at that point,
It would. It would.
instead of the business.
You'd have, and the only thing in the real world, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, it might make us all feel better from a legal perspective on paper, but in the real world, it's a lot line. So you're taking this lot line, if you do that, right? And you're going like that, basically, right? All right, one, it doesn't meet zoning because it exceeds the 2.5 to the width to depth ratio. Number two is, it's giving these kids a lot more land. Eventually, it's gonna be theirs, okay? And number three is, if you drive by it, and we did that, and a house goes up, it's on paper, and it doesn't change anything in the world. You got a house back here, all right? I know it meets the intent of the ordinance more than this does, there's no doubt. And we have a unique situation, and I consider a zoning board a relief valve for unique situations. And so, would it be more in the spirit of the ordinance? 100%, okay? It would be more in the spirit of the ordinance. But in the real world, okay, does it make a difference? No. If we adjusted the lot line and they built a house back there and anybody drives by and sees it, we can almost do that as a matter of right, but we need a variance on the new lot configuration and on the size, so we still gotta deal with those things. We have to come back to you for that, all right, if they decided to do that, but there's other reasons they don't wanna do it. It's the uncertainty of life, all right? So you spend you do the lot line, you spend $300,000 building a little house back there, you deed it to your kids, you hope everything goes right. If it doesn't, you have a major problem. These are gonna be a major problem. I have people calling me wanting to do it. I haven't thought my way through it yet because you've got financing issues, and then you have, what if you have, God forbid, a divorce or a bank forecloses? A bank's not gonna wanna foreclose on a piece of property where they have a life estate in it. I'm not gonna wanna buy this people a property at a foreclosure.
Well, that can happen with any house with an ADU.
It can, but most of the ADUs are built inside of a house, so it's not to the
Not necessarily.
Not
We
necessarily.
have quite a few in Smithfield right now, where it's just on the side of a house or off to the side of the house, not even connected.
You have some, and you can have
Yes.
them in existing structures. You couldn't have them like that until recently.
True.
Right? But I'm telling you, in the abstract, and think it through, if it was your own property, and you're gonna sell this house to your kids for $300-400, whatever you have, and you're gonna spend $300, all right, to live in the back, and you're gonna want a life estate. You're gonna want a life lease, okay, in this little house back there, because you're not gonna get kicked out. That creates problems with financing. and they want their son to be independent. They want it to have a nice 20,000 square foot lot that meets the requirements, and he can go get his financing, and if something goes wrong in life, well, that happens, okay? And it doesn't affect that back. So I agree, it definitely meets the spirit of the ordinance, okay? And I guess if they went that route, we're coming back before you anyway, because we're gonna need relief on the size, okay? And maybe on the lot configuration, all right? But I hate to be so cavalier, it meets the spirit of the ordinance, but in the big picture, if you granted it, nothing really changes, okay? Other than we feel better, okay, because it meets the spirit of the ordinance, but you still have a house back here, so I drive by, I don't see anything different, right? It's not like you would still be, if you saw fit to grant approval tonight, you're still granting them relief to build a little house on a parcel that's an acre and a half in zone residential. So anybody that drives by, whether we did it this way or that way, there's no difference, okay? And I understand that you're concerned about setting precedents.
The difference would be there's a primary residence that it would be attached to, so that's the spirit of the ordinance. Right?
I understand, but again, the lot configuration, the spirit of the ordinance is that we don't have these long, deep, narrow lots. All right, so you're gonna create one of those, and, you know, and then we do have a mixed-use building. It's not like just a restaurant up front, right? If it was just a total commercial building, I don't think I'd be coming in here asking for you, all right? We do have a mixed-use building in a residential zone with a 1,200 square foot apartment, all right? Maybe we could think of this as, it turns out in the long run to be more of the primary structure and the apartment becomes more of the ADU. I have a hard time fitting, you know, a round peg in a square hole, like a square box on this case. So I see what my clients want to do. I understand why they want to do it. They want their son and his family to be independent, you know, with his lot. And then the ultimate game plan is nobody's getting out of here alive, okay? When they're born, their other son can move in a little house in the back, all right? And not be tied in to his brother. I would suggest it's not a financial hardship, all right, a financial disability. It is more than a marriage community. So I think you have a very unique property, a very unique application, and we are asking for relief from the part of the ordinance that says it has to be accessory to a principal dwelling. We're asking for relief that it can be accessory to a mixed use building. And I understand the concerns, and all we can do is come in and make our best case and ask you for relief.
I guess my biggest concern was that it basically said it must be part of, and that's where not being the principal property.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard thing to get over right now at this moment. Members, anybody else have any questions?
So, Mr. Kane, just to get, I mean, I'm looking at this in a logical situation. And I understand the board's concern about certain things. But looking at it in a logical situation, it is a unique piece of property. If Mr. Richards was looking for financial gain, then he could expand the commercial end of it and put more stores.
You could come
He's
in
got-
for a one-time 50% expansion, obviously, yeah, you could.
Exactly. So if that was the game plan for financial gain, he'd be before us right now wanting to expand further stores, or maybe a
He
restaurant.
could come in and file a comp permit and put a 6-unit apartment back there and make 2 of them affordable.
You know,
And you would never see it,
in
we'd go
looking
before the
at it,
planning board and nobody could deny it.
I mean, looking at it in this situation, and the way the state is running now with the new laws that's presented, there's going to be other laws coming down momentarily from our speaker, which I'm very, very aware of. And most likely they are going to be passed.
I think under the law now, you can do
I
one
mean,
of these
if
behind a
it was-
two-family.
Right.
You could do one of these behind a two-family.
Exactly.
We're
So-
asking to do it behind a mixed-use structure. I know when first blush, it seems like a lot, but when you think it through, it's,
I'm just looking at this as one, it is a family. Mr. Richards is moving there, his son, it's just juxtaposing its family. into different situations and putting himself on this property where he works and is gonna live.
And where his son, and his kids work too, their
Right,
jewel is
right,
also.
exactly. So I mean, and wholeheartedly, I know what the law reads. I know exactly what it reads. And if there were multiple situations of this kind of uniqueness in the town, well, then I would look at it a little differently. But this is extremely, extremely unique, you know, and the driving by with your house being there, you're not even gonna see it, number one, but, you know, in my estimation, I mean, it's a very, very unique situation. It's a family situation. And, you know, logically, without going to the appeal room, that's the way I'm looking at
He
it.
could rearrange his park and put a little road in there and a cul-de-sac and try and spin off 2 or 3 lots. They're not looking to do that.
Well, there are many ways that back area could be developed.
Yeah.
I know it's not an easy one for you.
No, it's
But again,
not.
like you can do, I don't know if it's a 2-family or a 3-family, you can do an ADU behind a multifamily in the state of Rhode Island right now. What's the difference here? It's not a multifamily, it's a mixed-use
Not mixed
building
use.
with a nice residential component. At first, it seems like a big ask. I don't think it's asking for the world. When you think it through and look at the property and consider what's going on with housing and the changes in the General Assembly in this unique situation, I think you would be well within your rights to grant relief. That's your.
More importantly, Mr. Kane, the logistics of this. I mean, every developer, as you well know, there are going to be a lot of ADUs coming in to single-family flats, okay? And as we speak, it's going to happen, because most of the property is 40 to 80,000 square feet. You know, and especially, let's go up to Log Road and all through there. It's going to be very, very prevalent. You know, some of these people that have these huge homes, that have children, they cannot afford that $800,000 they just spent on their home. So they want their children to live the life that they lived in Smithfield. But everyone getting out of college right now that was born in Smithfield, very difficult to buy a home in Smithfield. So I mean, that's why I'm saying, if we look at this logically, there's a commercial building in front with a residential above it with a small 1,200 square foot house in back of it. I mean, it's extremely unique, extremely unique.
Mr. Rich, can you just provide a brief history of how did that residential zone have a building like that anyways? I'm just curious, I don't know the history behind
That was Louis Tavern.
It was grandfather.
Yes.
That was a restaurant way
My
back in the
wife's
day.
family, he started a restaurant in 1947,
Predates on.
and he lived upstairs. And they had, they owned the whole block.
Sorry, you can speak up a little bit louder.
They owned the whole block there as Louis Tavern. And then they built a house on the side there. And my in-laws gave us.
Can you pull the mic down so we can hear you better?
Our in-laws gave us our house lot in the back of theirs. So we built there 30 years ago.
And they had the corner lot at Clarence
Yeah.
Derber and Pleasant View?
Yeah. And they since have gone, but they passed and they left They sold the house there. And, but we still own, we bought the building, me and my wife bought the building and changed it from the restaurant to our own businesses. And the restaurant used to be open till 2 o'clock in the morning, where we told the residents around us that we would be closed about 5 o'clock. So they liked that idea, so it's quiet at night. So we wanted to keep it the same way by putting a house in the back there. 'Cause, you know, we like quiet time too, after work, and we figure we live there, we work there, and my whole family is there. My 2 sons work for me, so we're always together. We just wanted to keep our families still together. And
You know, from that
Instead of-
standpoint, it's a large area. Again, it's well drained, it's wooded, and the devil you know is better than the one you don't, right? So if I live in that area, a little 1,200 square foot house, right,
Yeah.
would be appealing to me as opposed to lots of things that could go back there. I mean, again, we're
Yeah.
not threatening it, but if someone bought this property, they could file a comp permit and build a 4-unit apartment complex. There's water and sewer. You'd never see it, and it would have to get approved. And make one affordable, 25% done.
So, just one question generally, would it, there's no plan to then build a house and subdivide that lot and
If
break it
you-
off?
I could ask my client, but if you saw fit to grant this, would you agree that there would be no further development on this property?
right, yeah, no,
Because I think one of the board's concern is you build it and then tomorrow you chop that square section off.
yeah,
Now you got a house to sell to somebody and now
yeah, we're not looking to do that.
so that's one of the concerns I think that
No,
I.
we're looking to live there. We're not
Concern
gonna-
of
What he's
that,
saying
also,
is
just
you'll
selling
never be able to
everything.
separate ownership. That's all gonna have to go together for attorney,
Oh, I see,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
Because that's not,
yeah,
that's not your intent right now, is
Right.
to build this house, then separate it out and sell it separately.
right.
Okay. Mr. Kane, you did get the engineering and planning department note information?
I looked at the staff report and
Okay.
kind of closed it real quick.
Well, I was gonna say, because, you know, there's zoning's a request for relief, they're stating it's not appropriate, and they suggest that we deny this.
And I read that, and one of the things they said it's not owner occupied. It couldn't be further from the fact. It's 110% owner occupied. And I understand at first blush, when you first look at it, it's problematic when you first look at it, because it's not, but when you think it through and look at it and flesh it out and consider alternatives, and the fact that it's unique, it's a recommendation, it's not binding. You know, and there's really not any other path. If we could go to the planning board, we would. We can't go to the planning board for some other type of relief. You're the board, you know, your solicitor researched that today. The building department, the building official didn't have anything negative to say at all. But no, they weren't crazy about it. I understand that, but that's not binding on you. It's advisory, and I don't think, maybe they didn't give it the consideration that you're giving it tonight and hear all the facts and think it through all the way. At first blush, your reaction is, no, it's not primary to a principal dwelling, all right? And then when you think it through and you look at the land and all the circumstances of what's going on, I think it makes common sense. And again, if they had a 2-family out in front, all right, they could build an ADU behind it. You may never see it, all right? The only difference is we have a mixed use. We have some nice little family businesses on the first floor, and you have an apartment on the second floor. So if that first floor was a residential unit, we wouldn't be having this discussion. And if that's what it comes down to, I don't think it's the end of the world if you grant a relief, if you look at it like that. And I don't think that they got down into the weeds, the planning
No,
department. and zoning
I
department.
completely understand what they want. It sounds realistic and logical. It's a matter of setting a precedence in the town that could grow beyond what we wanted it to happen. Because all of a sudden now we're allowing an ADU not on the principal property.
You're allowing it behind a mixed-use building, which is an acre and a half, which is zone residential.
Not on the
I
principal
don't think you'll
property.
ever see that case again, and if you did, I would say you'd be in your rights to grant it. If someone came in you with the exact same case, and it's wooded in the back, and it's a family thing, I don't think you'll ever see it. If you did, I don't think it would be the end of the world if you granted it. You'd probably feel obligated to grant it because you gave it to my client. I don't know where you're gonna see that in the town of Smithfield. Each case is unique. You don't say legal precedent unless it's exactly the same. You don't find same, but you want to be fair and consistent to people.
Yeah, no, I agree. Members, any other questions?
I mean, I do know that at the end of the day, it will be his principal property after that. If we granted the ADU, it would end up being his principal property.
Correct.
That's my, just rationalization of it. And I understand the statute, I understand, the concern of the town and us setting a precedent. I agree with that 100%. However, it is unique, and, if you're just looking at it factually, the facts and to what Ed said, I don't know, it's a unique situation. It is a family situation, and it's the accessory dwelling unit he'll be living there, and it'll actually be owner occupied at that point. So it's almost like, do you sell the piece, cut it off, sell it to himself, build a house, and he owns it, or either way, he can do it, and it's still him, and it's still the family. And I think trying to reconcile the, where our
He won't be able to build a
guideline.
principal residence behind that, right?
No. They don't want you building a bigger house behind this one and then calling this an ADU.
No, even bigger than this one, yeah.
Right.
You still have to stay within the 448 feet.
Well, I think you're asking if there could be an ADU off of that
Off of that,
owner
no.
principal residence, right?
Yeah, once it becomes their principal residence.
Right, so you can make that a condition that they don't get an additional ADU off of that living structure,
Once it becomes their principal residence.
once it becomes their residence. You could tie like some sort of
And we can
condition.
stipulate that they can't split that lot off.
off.
You can stipulate that, yes, that they can't subdivide that lot for purposes of selling the house separately. So that, as Attorney Kane said, it remains all part of Lot 36.
So I understand it's gonna be owner occupied now, but can we put stipulations in that in the future, whoever owns that land wouldn't be able to use it for commercial uses, and it would have to remain owner occupied to be inhabited?
I would say
I don't
commercial
know, I don't
uses
know if you could do that, because if you ever decided to move out, sell completely, there's nothing saying that you can't.
You mean the house, you're talking the house he builds?
Yes.
You want,
So is there any protections built in where, right now, he moves in, but then 5 years from now moves out and rents it out?
No.
no.
There's no protection like
there's-
that.
There's nothing.
There's no protection.
I think you gotta.
Generally.
If you look at the family history, right?
No, they've
Been
been
in their
there all
family
the
since
time.
47. The two kids are Joy's. One's buying their house, the other one's moving up in the apartment. He's gonna start a family. I don't see anybody going there for a long time, but when nobody's getting out of here alive, right? So eventually, 50, 75, 80 years, some might sell the whole kit and caboodle. And you might get people that own it and operate it. I would hope that would happen, because that's very attractive for someone to be close to work. Or you could get somebody that rents the house and, all do candor, right? But that is definitely not their intent, 100%, and it's not their kids' intent. They want to stay in Smithfield.
So, Mr. Kane, you're gonna agree, if you agree to the stipulation that the lot stays the same size without being subdivided, number one. Number two, it's owner occupied or family occupied, the ADU, along with that. So there's no subdivision, there's no expansion, and you can't sell it off. I mean, is that?
My client would agree to those. I would just watch out for the family occupied, because I'm thinking long-term, and I'm thinking 75 and 100 years, all right? And I come in and I buy it, and my family doesn't want to live there. And I want to rent it. It's obviously not their intent. It can't be. We all know the history of the property. You heard it, all right? But I would agree to no further development of the property, no subdivision of the property, all right? But the family-owned, I wouldn't want to stand here and say, it would be good for the next 500 years. It might not be.
No, I'm not
Maybe
saying,
owner, just whoever, an owner of the property, that would be, is that what you mean? A condition is whoever someone who owns that property
reside there.
resides.
You good with that? Okay, they're fine with that? Yeah,
It's a possibility, okay.
Because in 75 years,
sure,
you may see a high-rise over there,
yeah.
you know?
And if Mr. Richards is still here, he can come back and testify in 75 years.
Well, I guess because
I
as,
understand.
yeah, because what the board, you're worried about is they pass away tragically tomorrow and the kids decide to sell everything. And now it looks
We
like
got a whole
this
bunch of
big,
strangers over there, yeah.
and,
yeah.
you know,
And
they'd rather make sure there is, whoever buys it has an interest in living there so that from the board's perspective, you've kept your sort of thumb on making sure that
I think
the
that- I
intent
think
of
that's
what was
reasonable and-
presented was done.
How could we force a buyer to have put a family member in that ADU?
No, just an owner occupied. The resolution would state that
If you bought that property, you have to live in that.
Owner occupied.
one of the owners that purchased that property is required to live on that property.
That would stand up in court.
Well, if they agree to it,
For them, I'm saying, if they went to sell it.
It'll be,
Well-
it's gonna come up in a title search, because they're gonna make your
Yeah.
resolution.
if they want a relief off of that, they'd have to come back to this board.
Come back to the board to
That'd
change
be
it.
their first step, to have this board revisit it.
It's not bad then.
And if it happens in the next few years, you know, we should all still be around hopefully, but then you'll remember the intent of what you did, and the person that comes forward, you'd have the right to have it vetted.
Oh, just one last thing. So the drawings that you gave us is preliminary. So the square footage is not going to change, the design of the house could change? Could it be a two-story? Is it going to be a one-story? One-story. No garage? You're just looking for square footage, 1280?
Did you say garage? I didn't hear.
If it's allowed.
I don't think they count that as living space. So they'd have to come back if they want to do a garage. If your plans don't show a garage, it's what they're looking at right now. They're not a fully. It doesn't show a garage,
Yeah, there's two other garages on the property there.
Ma'am, the court reporter can't take you down unless you come up and be sworn in. That's up to your counsel.
Come on up.
What I'm hearing from the zoning official is that we want to do a garage and we leave it on the sides.
If you intend to use that garage for the ADU, if it's for the people living in the apartment in the next use, it's part of the
There's already two.
There's already two garages there, yeah.
We're not amending the application today, we're not asking.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Peter, just make sure your mic's on.
Yeah, make sure your mic's on.
The lot survey, I see, so the bulkhead will be at the same wall as the deck, according to the plan. There's no bulkhead on the, survey, but I understand where it is. There's plenty of setback there anyway. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
I think for the bulkhead, we just want to put the distance here, I guess.
What your setbacks on this one, dotted line. Wherever the bulkhead is.
Yeah.
Reasonable setback. Reasonable setback.
Yeah. Okay, if no more questions, Jim, are you all set? Yeah. Okay. If no more questions, we can open the meeting to the public. Would anybody here like to talk in favor of the applicant? Would anybody here like to talk against the applicant? If not, we close the meeting to the public. No, I just asked.
Did you want to say something?
No. No,
Hold on.
hold on.
Make a motion someone make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. State your name, please.
Amy Grenga,
Okay.
Grenga, Grenga.
Yes, she does.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. What's your address, please?
6 Balsam Lane.
Okay.
So when he was explaining, we're actually behind the additional dwelling unit, so we're the residential. So I actually think it's a good thing if it's a residential and not a commercial, because I don't want an apartment building behind my house. The question I have is, there's on the Smithfield codes, it said that it has to be 25 feet, so our property is 15 feet and then another 25 feet for the removal of trees. So I just want to be clear that with the building, that the removal of trees is going to be, like, I don't want our trees removed if that's the clearance. I wanted clarity on that.
You mean your trees?
Well, they're not
Or
ours.
the trees
Ours-
on their property?
Well, ours goes 15 feet back, and then there's another 25 feet per the code saying that there has to be 25 feet between our property and their property. I can pull up the code if you would like me to.
Yeah, what, you mean just setback?
Yeah, she's talking about.
What?
Buffers?
Buffer.
Yeah.
I have it.
So it says a parameter buffer zone having a width of 25 feet as measured from all other property lines.
What section?
333-5? Is that correct?
333-5. That's gonna be a landscape ordinance in the code, not the zoning ordinance. That's gonna be a
Looking at the wrong-
landscape
looking at the wrong
code?
one.
What?
Right, which would apply, but that's engineering, wheelhouse, so they would enforce that. They didn't comment that particular case, but yeah, I mean, it applies to everything.
If that specific municipal code applies, it gets looked at when they pull their building permit,
Okay,
or when they go to which they do, pull the building permit to start digging their foundation.
Okay.
So they'll have to potentially know the areas of disturbance, and the engineering department with the building department can look at that distance.
And we would be notified?
You don't get notified of that, but you can call the department
Okay.
and check in on that.
Okay.
I can tell you that just generally, according to their survey, they have their setback in place. So the rear setback is 30 feet. So
Okay.
right off the bat, that house is going to be much further in than 30 feet off your line.
Okay.
It's 100 feet
100
off
feet from
your,
Okay.
the back of the property. yeah.
so your rear line is their rear line. And so their
There, I'm
house,
sorry, I didn't hear you,
your rear lot
Yep.
is also their rear lot.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So it's going to be 100 feet off of your lot.
Okay.
Rear lot to where their house will be.
Okay,
So they're going to have at least 50 to 75 feet to play with before.
great. Excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we close the public hearing. Okay.
Chairman, I make a motion, we take this under advisement.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Make a motion to enter into deliberations, please.
Second?
No, he can't.
Oh,
I can't
I'm
make a
sorry,
motion.
I make a motion that we enter into deliberations.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Discussions.
It sounds like it's going to put a lot of stipulations if we go forward with this.
Before you make the motion, why don't you just discuss it generally, what ideas you have for the conditions? Then someone can, at that point, you have an idea what you're looking for. Someone can make a motion to approve the application, discuss, finalize those conditions, then you can vote whether you're going to approve it or not.
So,
Right now, we have two, right? Owner occupied ADU and no subdivision of property. Is there anything
yeah,
else?
so once it becomes their primary residence, they cannot ask for another ADU on that property.
Right.
No splitting off of that property.
The resolution of, do we say, if it's sold, that the ADU has to be,
Well, that will be a
Owner
primary
Yeah, we
residence.
talked about owner occupied
yes.
ADU at that point.
Does it change from ADU to primary residence once they move in?
That's a good question.
No, your class, it's being approved as an variance to the ADU ordinance, so it's going to be classified as an ADU.
And the square footage not to exceed 1,288 square feet.
What do you
At this point, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with all of the stipulations that Mr. Hunt has set forth.
Any second? Any
Anything
deliberations?
anything we left out, anything?
I don't think you did, Mr.
One,
Hunt.
2, 3, I got 4 things, right? Owner occupied, no subdivision, no additional ADU, not to exceed 1,288 square feet.
No splitting of the lot.
And what?
No splitting of the lot.
Subdivision.
That's what I had, no subdivision of property.
Motion's made by Ed.
I need somebody to second it,
I'll second that based on all the stipulations.
okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, anybody? None? Approved. That was a tough one.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Second?
Second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Good to go.
Guys did a good job working through that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel good that, I feel like you put in